Alright, what is up everybody? Coming with another video today, and this is a video that I had hoped I would never have to make, and I'm well over a year into my serious knife collecting, and I've had well over 100 what I would consider higher end knives, and you know, along the way there's gonna be issues that arise, and I understand that. So I've dealt with a decent amount of companies' customer service, and they've always taken care of me. They've always made an attempt to fix the issue. So I'm going to try to come at this as reasonably as I can. I'm going to try to put out there what the issues are, and then what the response I got was, and I'll let you be the judge. Maybe I'm just crazy, or maybe this is bad customer service. So obviously, this is an Emp Edc knife. This is the Nymble X. This was a drop they did. This was the larger nymble. You can see here, Emp Edc Nymble X, signed by whatever the dude's name is. May 2022. It's currently July 2022. First production. I got my little stickers here, and then here's the knife. Now, so I bought this knife from YouTube, not from YouTube. I bought this knife from eBay from a reseller. This guy specifically deals in knives, and it seemed to be mainly knives that do drops. Then he charges extra and resells them. So he had 100% positive reviews, and I do not blame that seller at all. He got the knife on a drop. You assume a brand new knife doesn't have any issues, and he just resold it exactly as he got it. Now, with that being said, none of these issues happened until I got the knife. I did not get the knife with these issues. I guess technically I did, but they were from the factory. The main issue, the DLC coating there, happened when I started flicking the knife, and it happened almost immediately. So obviously when you get a knife off eBay like that, you want to do a very thorough inspection. You want to make sure it's authentic. You want to look it over really well, which I did. I looked it over with a fine-tooth comb. I looked at the blade. I looked at everything. I looked in the deployment hole, because that's an issue I've had before with DLC coatings. Absolutely no issues. I looked over it for probably 20 minutes. Then I started flicking it, flicking it, doing some thumb flicks, reverse flicks mainly. That's kind of what this knife is known for, being a fidgety knife. You've got those deployments, you got a front flipper, so, I was just playing with it. About an hour later, I had set it down, and I came back, and I saw that. And it wasn't as bad with the DLC coating there, but it had already started. I was like, well, that's not good, and it wasn't like that an hour ago. You can see now it's already starting there on the top side of the deployment hole as well. Excuse my ugly fingernails. Can't really see in that light. You can kind of see there, it's already starting on the top of the deployment hole. And it was pretty much, I did this, and it literally rubbed off on my finger. So that was a concern, and I was like, wait a minute. So then I started feeling the blade play, and I was like, this got some slop in it. There's a little bit of blade play there. My initial inspection, I was mainly looking for visible defects. I hadn't mechanically got into it, and I was like, got a little bit of blade play there. So I was like, I'll just tighten the pivot down. Probably came loose. Pivot was a little loose. And once I tightened it down, like it is now, right now there is zero blade play, nice and tight. I looked down and saw that. I'm like, well, that's not right, So after messing with the pivot a little bit. I tried Metal Complex's trick where you loosen the pivot and the screws, you put a shim in there and retighten it. That did nothing. I tried other tricks. I looked at more videos on YouTube other than my normal tricks that work. I could not get this blade centered. Now on camera, right there you can tell that's pretty dang far off. For comparison, let me show you my Brian Brown Knives Jaeger. 0 blade play, rock solid, perfect centering, perfect. Go to this, made by Best Tech, the Axon. Perfect centering. That one's off a little bit. A little loose, and fix that. There it is. I tightened it a little bit, perfect centering. Worked its way loose a little bit. And normally that's what you can do. Christensen Knife Works, no issues. This, many issues, okay? So the knife, the DLC coating coming off like that made me start looking even closer, and then I came across that issue, this issue here, and I could not get it out. So I was like, let me take this knife apart. Let me see, maybe there's something in the pivot. Let me just look at it. So I get it apart. You know, it looked decent construction. I saw no major defects except my bearing cage. One of my ceramic bearings was missing. There's 9 balls in these ceramic bearing cages. Was missing one. So I was like, well, maybe that's causing it. So I flipped it to the other side, and I still had that. So obviously I contacted Emp Edc. I emailed them. I also messaged them on Instagram. And about 2 weeks go by, and I hear nothing. Absolutely nothing. I start to see posts on Facebook. I'm having issues with my nymble X, and I can't get a reply. So I'm like, it's not just me. There's other people with issues that can't get a reply. So I make a post about it yesterday in the High Quality Production Knives Facebook group. I get a lot of comments, you know, this and that. Nothing too much. Well, magically, last night, I get an Instagram message from Emp Edc's Instagram page, which I had messaged. I also got a return email at the same time. And he says, that blade is centered. The grind is a little bit off. I see what you're saying, but that blade is centered. That man told me this blade is centered. I can't make this up. I've got the messages. I should have screenshotted them and printed them out, but I've got the messages. If you want to look up Evan Ruins EDC, he's got a YouTube channel. Look up Evan Ruins EDC on Instagram. He saw my post and made a post. It's got all the messages, and it'll show the pictures I sent, and it shows his response saying that knife's centered. I was just dumbfounded by that. He then goes on to say, since you didn't buy this knife directly from us, I normally don't deal with warranties on secondary sales. And I'm thinking, well, these are factory defects. You know, nobody caused this. This knife came like this. He then goes on to say, yeah, I could send you some new bearings. So I had 3 issues: the knife centering, the bearing missing, and my main issue, which I thought was my main issue, was the DLC coating. He said that knife's centered. He needs to get his eyes checked. He must have been still drunk from the vacation he said he was on, is why I didn't reply from 2 weeks. Said that knife was centered. He then said, maybe I could, or he didn't say, he said, I guess I could send you some new bearings. And I asked him what size bearings these were, and he said the 5mm 11 ball skiffs will work in this knife. I said, well, you know what? Don't worry about the bearings. I'll buy skiffs. I said, I'll just buy the skiffs. Probably better anyways. Definitely better anyways. He then said the DLC coating, I've never seen that, and that's never been an issue before. Like I was lying about it or something. He then said, I guess you could send the knife in, But the catch-22 is I don't have the facility to fix that issue. He then said, and I'm not making this up, and I quote, "So I really don't know what you want me to do, my guy." That is a quote from the messages. He ended the message with, "I really don't know what you want me to do, my guy." So if you bought a $350 knife that you paid more than that for, that's fine. We're going to say this knife was $350 because that's what it cost. You pre-order this knife, you wait months, you get it, and you have these issues. You email the guy, you don't hear anything for weeks because he's on a month-long vacation, undoubtedly, on all that pre-order money. And then he's like, "Well, yeah, no, that's not right, but I can't fix it." I mean, am I crazy, or is that ridiculous? I don't think I'm crazy, you know? Pretty much says, "Well, I can't fix it, sorry." I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I was trying to be reasonable here, but the more I think about it and the more I talk about it, it's literally insane to me. He said, "I guess you could send the knife in, but I can't fix it." Why don't you replace it? This is a factory issue. This is a factory defect, you know? I mean, this happened instantly. I mean, it just rubbed off. And I've had some people that know a little bit tell me the hole probably was not prepped correctly, so the DLC coating did not stick there. And that makes sense. It's not doing it anywhere else on the blade yet that I can see. Maybe. But I don't have high hopes. Another thing, a guy today also said, he talked to somebody, he said, that was Evan Ruins EDC, said, with the people he's talked to, they think this blade is actually warped. And that would make sense to me. You can see, obviously, the grind is way off. This side versus that side on the cutout there, it's way off. You can really see it right here. See how far off that grind is? But I'm thinking, let me see if I can show it here. I'm thinking he might be right as far as the blade is warped. Let me do this. Is it warped? I mean, it's just slightly overall if it is, and that can happen in the heat treat. You can get warped blades. So I'm thinking that more than likely that's the issue. I'm not 100% though. Don't know for sure, but I just don't know what would cause centering to be this much off. And you can switch the bearings from this side to this side, and it's the same thing. Just as off center. Now I can loosen the pivot about a quarter turn there, and we're close there, very close there, pretty much right on. But now there's a good amount of blade play, and I know it's hard to show blade play on camera, and that's still fairly off. Let me go a little more here. That's pretty close there. That would be close enough to call it centered for me. That's close enough to call it centered. I'd be happy with that. But now, good amount of blade play. It's hard to show blade play on camera. I can't show it. But there's a good amount of blade play there. Not enough to be comfortable with. So yeah, you know, even if we overlook the centering, say I deal with a little bit of blade play, which I shouldn't have to, but I was open to dealing with a little bit of blade play. I even said in my messages, you know, I'm not as worried about the centering as this DLC coating, because that looks like shit, you know, it looks horrible. And he pretty much said, well, I can't fix it, so what do you want me to do? It's ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. And we're a very tight-knit community here. And I don't think we should stand for that. That is absolutely, positively taking the money and running. And with posting this, I saw people start talking about, well, I'm not surprised, from a guy that steals designs. And I didn't even know what was going on there. I haven't even seen anything about that. So I'm not biased. I wanted to like this knife. I went out of my way to buy this knife because I'd seen great things about the nymbles. But some knives are, in fact, all hype. And even overlooking those issues, I just don't love this knife. Even if it was perfect, I just wouldn't love it. And I don't know why. It's one of those things you can't explain it. Some knives you love, some knives you just don't. These are made by QSP. You guys probably know them from the QSP Penguin. The $50 budget knife. That's good for $50. You know, and it is what it is. I was just dumbfounded, and I replied to him, and I said, well, I was really hoping to get he said, what do you want me to do? And I said, I was really hoping to get the factory defect issue resolved. But if you can't work on the knives you sell, I guess you can't work on them, huh? Never even opened it. Just ignored me after that. Probably blocked me. Probably not, but just ignored that. So if he offered to let me send it in, and then just ignored me. So at this point, I can't even send it in. So he's not even taking it back. I saw another issue a guy had, couldn't get a hold of anybody for weeks. He got the knife as a present. Had a great wife, so his wife got it for him. And he didn't love it, didn't fit his hand, he wanted to return it. He said he thought they had a 30-day return policy, but it turns out they don't take returns, only on factory defects. But that's not true, is it? Because that's a factory defect. Now, you can say what you want about me buying it from a reseller. All I know is a crystal weave knife, if you need to send it in, they don't ask who owns it. I know most real manufacturers that manufacture their own knives, they warranty them for life. They warranty them for factory defects. Doesn't matter who owns it. Why does it matter if I bought it new if it's a factory defect? You know? Kind of ridiculous. So, buyer beware. Take what you want from this. Let me show you that centering one more time with no blade play. Show you that one more time. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, is I'm just going to have to deal with a little bit of blade play, undoubtedly. I'm going to order the skiffs, see what that does, and then I'm going to probably tape off around the edges and then sand and polish the deployment hole so it'll look like satin from the outside, so it doesn't look that bad. We'll see how that looks. You know, maybe the skiffs will help a little bit, because it doesn't feel super solid. I don't know, it just doesn't have, it's got a good action, it doesn't feel smooth. It's not that smooth. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Anyways, I want to end my rant there. But yeah, I would absolutely recommend you do not buy a knife from Emp Edc, because he will not back it up. And don't buy a DLC model, because he can't fix it. What a joke. Anyways, got a left-handed Axon coming soon. Look for that unboxing. Alright, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Have a great day.